Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for joining me. My name is Jinelle. If you've come back, welcome back. If you're new, thanks for coming in. Today's video is about me losing my vision over the years, and today we are kind of picking up where I was learning about losing my vision. I was about 11, 12, starting going into junior high school. I am at a different angle. We're still in my closet, as you can see, the mess of clothes behind me. We are a week from Christmas, so I have wrapping to do. So I figured we would set up here and I would just talk as I wrap so I can multitask and maybe get finished. I doubt it will be today, but we will try. And we are quite cool here today. It is, I don't even know, it's cold. My little Willie is down here with me. He is in his little sweater. He is all curled up in a ball behind me. So hopefully he will just stay nice and quiet. But I figured I would just come on and do a little chit chat and maybe do a part 2 of losing my vision. So I'm gonna go ahead and start when I was starting junior high school. I had already lost my vision in my left eye, and at that time the eye started looking really bad, and I wanted, something to cover it so kids wouldn't make fun of me in school. And my mother took me to an ocularist that made prosthetic eyes, and we were hoping he could make something just to cover the eye. And when we went in to see him, he informed us that it was a tumor growing out of the eye, and there was no way he was gonna touch it. We had to get to the eye hospital in Miami called Bascom Palmer Eye Institute. There's, world famous, eye doctors down there. So we left that night. We arrived, excuse me, sorry, that day or that evening, and we found out I was losing my vision in the other eye. So, we pick up from there. I had, quite a bit of surgery done over the years. I'm going into junior high school now. I can't have any kind of physical activity because I might lose my vision if I get knocked in the head or, even smacked hard in the head. So that changes, my world a little bit, and now I'm living in this fear bubble that I'm gonna go blind. That's, just a constant fear. I wake up all night just to look at the clock, make sure I can still see it. And so I guess about maybe about age 15, I started getting anxiety attacks. And back then it was a lot different than it is now. Not everybody ran to the doctor for every little thing, and you didn't see commercials for drugs every other commercial that was on. It wasn't like, oh, take this and, it'll cause this, but it'll cure this. Or at least I don't remember seeing that stuff, but I wasn't a TV watcher. I read a lot even back then. But we didn't go to the doctors. I mean, unless, your arm was falling off or, you were losing a finger or something, you just didn't go to the doctors. And you just dealt with your feelings, by yourself, and you talked to your buddies sometimes about it, and sometimes you didn't, and you just, or at least I learned to just, bottle it up and shove it down, and I learned to compartmentalize really young in life. But that was, my fear my whole life. And as I grew and the chance of my vision loss, being more and more real, I fed that fear. And then as, the light, and all through school, junior high, high school, I saw, I could see fine. My vision was fine. I drove, I worked. I was just a normal girl. I just, had, only one eye. And at that time, I didn't have a prosthetic. I just had my eyeball, and like I said, that, had a tumor growing out of it, and looked pretty scary, and, it was painful, but that was Jinelle, and, you either liked me for me, or you didn't like me, and you could make fun of me, and that was okay. That was your problem, not mine. So that was just how I dealt with life. And then junior high, I loved, I really enjoyed junior high. I had a great time. That's when I met my husband, and I had, met my best friend in junior high. I just had the best years. I mean, if I could go back to a time frame, it would be junior high. And then I was still going through all my, eye surgeries and everything in junior high. And, I could still see fine. Never had any issues seeing. And, it was just, to me it wasn't, an issue. They did MRIs and stuff on me and my brother, because of the brain tumors and spinal tumors. Sorry. I know that's being really rude, but I gotta get stuff done. But, at that time we didn't have any brain tumors or spinal tumors, and we kind of just thought, okay, it's in our eyes, and we got lucky, and that's that. And, we didn't understand a whole lot about it, and, they didn't know a lot about it back then. So, I guess I could show you what I'm packaging up, but, anyway, so that was my junior high years. Just back and forth, surgery after surgery, appointment after appointment. It just became a norm. It wasn't, anything out of the, ordinary. It'd be like somebody today just going to their doctor to, get a physical once a year. And I know my mom didn't have insurance on us. She was a single mom. She was a waitress. So I know for a while there it was very financially hard on her, because it was both my brother and I that had to go down there and, see the specialist. And I know for a while, even the car we had wouldn't make it back and forth there, so she had to rent a car, and I remember all those kinds of things, and we'd have to spend the night before. And then one time we brought her car down there, and I can't remember how old I was. Maybe 13, 14 years old. It was my mother, me, and my brother, which is about 2 years older than I am. I had had surgery or something, you know, where I couldn't leave the hospital, and her car had broke down, and somehow she knew the part, or maybe it was even a battery, I don't know. She needed some kind of part, and my brother was like 15, 16 years old, and we're like in Miami, you know, not the, you know, nice beach palm, white sand Miami you see on TV, like, you know, the scary part of Miami. And she has to send my brother out, like on the metro train, to go get this part, and she can't leave me because I've just had surgery. I can't imagine, you know, the fear she had to be, you know, feeling when she sent her, you know, baby boy out in the middle of Miami to go get this part for her car so we can make it home. I just couldn't imagine. I mean, we were built different back then, you know. He probably wasn't looked at as a baby boy at, you know, 15, 16 years old. But I just couldn't imagine sending my son out at 15 or 16 in the heart of Miami, and or even him wanting to go willingly alone, you know, with cash in his pocket to buy whatever part it was. Just things like that make you think, you know, wow. I wish she was here just so I could, you know, tell her how much I appreciate everything she did for us, and, you know, the sacrifices that she made, and, you know, that had to be so hard. I wish I could just thank her for things like that, you know, those tough choices that she had to make, you know. Life's not ever easy, and sometimes it's just really, really hard, and that's what I tried to explain to my daughter, you know. She's in a tough spot right now, and there's nobody that can help her but herself, and she just hasn't learned that yet, and it's hard to see her, you know, struggling, and, you know, but we can't do anything for her. She's not learning it. She's got to do this one on her own. And it's tough sitting back watching it, you know, but it's the only thing I can do. You know, I feel like the mama bird that, you know, has kicked the baby out of the nest, and watching her, you know, really half watching her trying to flap her wings on her own. She wants me to come down and swoop in and save her, and, you know, standing back and just watching her kind of nosedive, knowing she can do it. She just, you know, doesn't want to, so that's the tough part. So, anyway, so I got into high school and still had my vision in my right eye. You know, I was driving, I was, you know, living the, you know, happy teenage life, you know, working, you know, at Burger King, and worked with my best friend, and we had made it where all our classes in school were together. We had the same exact schedule, all except, you know, phys ed, because, you know, that was not something I was allowed to participate in, which, you know, I didn't care about that really. I mean, who wants to participate in, you know, PE? Not me. I was disappointed I couldn't do cheerleading, but other than that, you know, PE I didn't really care about. So they put me for that hour. I started out working with the SLD class, helping them, you know. I guess because they didn't know what else to do with me, and I had to earn a credit somehow. And as I was working with them, you know, because I couldn't be in PE in case, you know, I got hit in the head, one of the kids got really, really aggressive and tackled me to the ground. And of course, you know, my head hit the ground because I wasn't expecting it. And he didn't mean it. He was just, you know, not having a good day, and I was just, you know, the closest target. So praise God I didn't get hurt. I just got a little bump on the head, and, you know, everybody was okay. But after that, they had to figure out something else to do with me. So then I, you know, had library time, and which was perfectly fine with me. I loved reading books. Before I could drive, my favorite thing, you know, I'd beg my mom, please take me to the library. I need more books. You know, I read all my books. I think one of my favorite possessions is my library card. And I think that was, you know, one of my favorite possessions, even as, you know, a 10-year-old. I've never had a library fine except one time. Somebody was supposed to take a book back from me and didn't. And, you know, to have like a library fine, you know, I mean, it's paid, but I was very, very upset about it. So, but that has always been, you know, a joy of mine, is to read. And I'm grateful to have, you know, books on tape and that kind of stuff. Oh, I'm sorry, baby. Mommy forgot you were back there. But I still read. I don't do it as much now that I have a channel, but I do enjoy reading. I can go anywhere I want at any time I want just by opening the front page of a book. So went through high school. I had my daughter, and my mom passed away. She was 37 when she passed away, and I had just turned 18, and I had an appointment coming up in August. She passed away in June, for Miami, and I just stupidly didn't go. Just, my world was just spun out of control. I mean, the last thing I ever thought was I would lose my mom. And so I just, you know, went by faith for a little while. Just really didn't think about it, didn't care. Went on working, raising my daughter, doing what I had to do, just keeping up with, you know, living life. And then I got pregnant. No, I got pregnant with my son, and as I guess your blood doubles or something, I don't know, but for some reason the tumor in my eye started bulging more and more. And one of the nurses at the doctor's office got super, super concerned about it. And I told her, I said, it's fine, you know, that eye doesn't work anyway, it's fine. I mean, it hurt so bad at the time, but it was fine. And she's like, you need to go see, an eye doctor. You need to go get it taken care of. I think she was afraid that, it was going to pop when I gave birth. I think that was her fear. She never said it, but I think that was her, big fear. So, I told her at that time I didn't have any, eye insurance. And so she talked to the doctors, and they, called somebody, and they called somebody. I'm sorry, baby. I didn't scare you. I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry, Mommy. Sorry. It's okay, Mommy. It was Mommy. It's okay. So they found a doctor that would see me, and they worked it out that, he'd get paid through the state somehow, or some way. I mean, nobody does nothing for free. So, I was seeing him, in my first appointment, I'm like, have you ever seen, VHL, von Hippel-Lindau, have you ever had a patient, and he's like, oh, yeah, I've had patients with it, and, and he was like right around the corner. It was like a 5-minute drive versus a, 6-hour drive. And I could, work all day, and I could get up there, and I could see him, and I could still make it home in time to cook dinner, and, things just change when, you become a mom. So, I went and seen him, and, he's like, I really think, we need to remove this eye, it's just, it's gonna bust, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, how's my other eye? That's what I care about. Can I, do I have tumors? What's going on over there? And he's looking, he's like, no, everything looks really good over there. And I was just so thankful. I'm like, thank you, Lord, for watching it, because, I neglected to go to any eye doctor, for a few years. And I just, I was terrified. So, he just wanted that eye out, and to be honest, it didn't work, it hurt, but I wasn't ready. I just wasn't ready for that yet. So, we made an appointment for me to see him in 6 months, and I said to him, okay, are you going to dilate my eyes? Because, I don't see well, but my eyes get dilated. And he's like, oh, no, you'll be fine. And I said, okay. And so I left, and I came back 6 months later, and I said, as I was checking in, it was, time had, the time changed, and I didn't see good at night. I had quit driving at 19, at dark, because I couldn't see. So I said to her as I'm checking in, it's like starting to get dusk, it's like 4 o'clock, and I'm like watching the time, and I said to her, I just want to double check he's not going to dilate my eyes, right? And she says, no, you'll be fine to drive, because, I had talked to my husband about, coming to get me. So, go back there, and of course, dilates my eyes. I'm back there forever. It's like 6 o'clock when I leave, so it's dark. And my eyes are dilated. And I'm driving home, so, me being smart, thinking smart, I'm like, I'll take the back roads. And where we lived at the time, it was like, maybe 4 houses on a road, and it was very dark. They didn't even have street lights out there. It was dark. So I was like, oh, I'll just take the back roads. They'll be safe. Well, and like I said, it's, when the time had changed, so it was getting dark early. So I'm driving, the back roads, and we had lived out there for, years. And I slammed on my brakes really hard. I thought a semi was pulling out in front of me, and it was somebody's house all lit up for Christmas. And I thought it was a semi coming towards me. So I got home, and I was pale, and, Jimmy's like, what happened? And I told him the story. He's like, babe, I think maybe you should stop driving at night. I'm like, yeah, I think they should have told me my eyes were going to be dilated when I asked them. I mean, what if I would have wrecked? I mean, I was really upset about it. And then another time, the same wonderful, wonderful doctor, I used to yawn in the morning taking the kids to daycare. They were little in their car seat, and I used to drive them to daycare in the mornings before I went to work. And I would get to this certain intersection, and I don't know if it was the sunlight or just the time of day, but every time I got to this intersection, I would yawn. And for 20 or 30 seconds, which doesn't sound like a long time, my vision would go completely black after I opened my eyes. So I told the doctor about that. I was like, it was kind of scary. It doesn't sound like a long time, but when you got your kids in the car and you're driving across an intersection, that's a long time. And he says, yeah, it kind of sounds like it. He said, so you know what you do? Don't yawn. Well, yawning is kind of like breathing. You don't really have a way to control it. I don't control it. I mean, it kind of just happens. But that was this doctor's advice for me. He was just, I should have known he was just a quack. I mean, a great doctor. So, that brings us up to, now I'm, in my early 20s, get married, do all that stuff, have our house. Now we're, living down there. And, working full time, enjoying my job. I love what I'm doing. I'm selling military spec hardware. Some of it goes up in, the shuttle. Some of it goes to, the Navy, the Army, for helicopters or planes. Or it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed my job. Enjoyed all the people I talked to. I just enjoyed it. Had a lot of fun. So I'm working and things are just moving along. You think life is just so grand, just can't get any better. My husband and me, and we're just, I think God just made him to just walk beside me. I mean, he's it. He's just, that's my bookend, Well, it happened to be that my best friend ended up marrying his best friend. I mean, how cool is that? It doesn't get much better than that. So forever it was, all of us together. And we were always together. And then one Monday after Valentine's Day, I was sitting in my office at work, and my office was like inside a warehouse, so there was no windows, it was just a windowless, office. And I started seeing all this flashing going on, and I was supposed to have my left eye removed by this doctor a week later. I finally had agreed, okay, you can take it out. And it was gonna be a local anesthesia, and he was gonna do an outpatient procedure. So I was, pretty scared. It was actually gonna be like the day before the day after my birthday. Something like right in there. So, I was talking to, his nurse about getting blood work done and this and that. And I was supposed to get, I think, blood work done that day or the next day or something. Well, I'm sitting in my office and I see all these flashing lights, like, you know, if you could imagine, like the paparazzi around you, you know. And I know there's no windows, so nobody's taking my picture, and I'm, you know, there alone. And my light's not, you know, broke. So I put my hand over my face, and it's still happening. And I had just seen the doctor the week before, you know, went to go over all this stuff, and he checked my eye and blah, blah, blah. So I called my husband in a panic, and I said, you know, you've got to get here right now. I've got to go to the eye doctor. I said, I think something's happened with my retina. All these years that I've been dealing with my eye issues, you know, they tell you what to watch out for retina detachment, and flashing light is like one of the top ones to watch out for. So if you have flashing light like that, that could be a retinal detachment. So he rushes, you know, for 45 minutes down to get me. We go to the doctor, we sit, they make us wait, bring us back there. The nurse dilates the eye. The doctor finally, you know, saunters on in, looks in it, does not say a word to me, not a single word. Walks out of the office. Me and my husband are sitting there, you know, looking at each other like, okay, what's next, you know? Where'd he go? And then another nurse comes and gets us and says, you need to go down the hall to see the retinal specialist. And we're like, what? And she's like, he didn't tell you? And I'm like, he didn't say a word. And she's like, oh, yeah, you're having retinal detachment. You need to go see the other doctor. He's our retinal specialist. So that just, you know, made me so upset. You know, I mean, at least tell me you've been my doctor now for years. And, you know, in between that, he was only paid by the state for maybe 4 months. And then I got my own health insurance, and he charged it, and charged it well. So it wasn't like I was, you know, a pity case. So, I went and saw their retinal specialist, and he knew immediately that I was way too much for them to handle. He's like, you should have never been seen by anybody in this county. He's like, you should never left Baskin Palmer. They're the only ones that ever should have looked at you. He's like, you know, I can't talk bad about, you know, my partners and blah, 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 but he should have known that it was way out of his, you know, comfort zone and blah, blah, and you need to get back down there immediately. So we were back down there that night, and we had the hospital down there is just unbelievable. I mean, to consider it's an eye hospital, there's just hallways with door after door after door, and it's just rooms of people. I mean, just doctors everywhere. I mean, it's unbelievable. But I probably seen about anywhere from 9 to 15 doctors that day, and each one kept saying the same thing. There's nothing we can do. It's too late. The tumor's too large. You know, it's just sorry about your luck. And then the doctor that has been treating me for all these years, you know, he came in. I don't even think he was in the office that day. Ouch. But he came in. I'm sorry, Bubba. He came in and he looked and he told me, he says, well, it's not good. He says, you know, I don't know if we'll be able to do much about it. But, you know, if you're willing to try, I'm willing to try. And at that point, you know, I had babies, you know. I had a I guess my son was 3. and my daughter was 5. I mean, they were babies. I was like, I have to fight with everything I have. You know, I have kids I have to raise. You know, and I was working and, you know, married, and I worked through all my radiation. You know, I mean, I had it in Miami, so I was 3 hours away. So, you know, the 6.5 weeks I had radiation, I didn't work. But, you know, during, you know, laser and all the other treatments, coming back and forth, I worked through that. And then when they did finally remove my eye, the tumor was so large and so vascular that they thought that, you know, I might bleed so much that I would have to have a blood transfusion. And they actually kept me in the hospital, I think 2 days, just to watch, you know, my blood count and everything. And, you know, this guy here in town was just going to send me home and, you know, wish my husband luck, you know. So I believe with everything in me that, you know, everything happens for a reason. I truly believe that with my complete soul. I mean, I don't wish to be blind. I would never wish to be blind. I wish I could see. I don't think I would be as nice as I am right now. If I could see, I'd probably still be a really bitchy kind of woman. I hope not, but I know myself. So, but I wish I could see. Who knows, you know, what my life would be like. But I think in a miracle kind of way, this all happened at the time it happened to keep me away from the doctor here and away from the outpatient surgery, because I don't think it would have ended up well, and I don't think Jimmy would have handled that well, and I think it would have been very disastrous, more than me just losing my vision. And sorry guys. So I think in some ways, you know, I know in all ways everything happens for a reason. I believe with my whole heart one day we will know why things happen. I would like to know why things happen, but I'm waiting for that day, you know, we can take a walk. I envision it as, you know, we get up to heaven and we get to take a walk with Jesus, and I envision as we're walking by, you know, a big lake, and it's, you know, beautiful weather, and my perfect would be about 74.5 degrees, a nice breeze. My husband's home, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. But, you know, maybe that's how we find all the answers to why and what. But thank you for joining me, and that's a little bit more about my journey, and there will be more to come. I hope everybody is having a wonderful day. Stay beautiful, stay blessed, and until I see you again, thanks for joining me. Bye.